What's going on, everybody? Today we are starting a brand new album series. We're going to embark on a journey all the way through Metallica's 1984 release known as Ride the Lightning. The first song off of that album is called Fight Fire with Fire. It starts off with a classical guitar intro, which fades into a thrash riff, followed by another thrash riff, followed by another thrash riff with a thrashy solo on top, and then at the end, we hit another thrash riff. So come with me and embark on this journey through Fight Fire with Fire by Metallica. The introduction to Fight Fire with Fire begins with the enigmatic and Baroque-inspired guitar piece written by Cliff Burton, the bassist of Metallica. Yes, the bass player wrote a guitar piece at the intro of a thrash metal song. That's pretty crazy. Now, the reason why I say Baroque instead of classically inspired, like a lot of other people would say, is because it's more defining of what it actually is. This whole introduction reminds me of something that Johann Sebastian Bach would write. Okay, now if you guys don't know who Johann Sebastian Bach is, you better get your ass on some of that, because he is one of the baddest motherfuckers out there. Well, he's dead, but he's one of the baddest motherfuckers out there in the universe. You know, his spirit lives on through his music. Okay? Just listen to Johann Sebastian Bach, damn it. Get your big wig on, your powdered wig, and just get into it. So I'm going to present this introduction as 5 different parts. Yes, 5 different parts layered on top of each other to create the sound of this section. Now, it sounds as if there might be a harpsichord in there. Now, I can't confirm that anywhere. There's no confirmation that I can find that says what the exact instrumentation here is. But what I'm getting from this is that there's definitely layered 12-string acoustics, and there's a bass part that's buried in the mix that you can just barely hear if you put your ear to the wall. So the first part I'm going to go over is the bass line. Now let's check that out. So that bass line starts off with double stops in thirds, okay? And you're starting on a G chord, okay? So it's G, A minor third, B minor third, and a C, with a little hammer on to the 9th and 10th fret, and then a little staccato on the way down, right? And then we hit the notes E to D, with that little power chord ring out going on there. And that continues on with the same thing again. And then this time we hit B to A. So all of these are just 2-chord cadence resolutions, which I'm going to go over a little bit later. We come back to the double stops. And then we're here. Here we're resolving from A to G, going back into the double stop. So we just keep coming back to this. And then the final part is an E for an E minor chord, a little G power chord to a C, which is the final resolution before the big fade-in happens. So this part is very much buried into the mix, so listen carefully to try to hear it. The next part that comes in is a 12-string that acts as a double to the bass guitar. So let's hear what that sounds like. To those measures of 2 and 3. 2, 3. That can be a little tricky. Then here we're in 4, the final cadence. Okay, so basically what's going on here is we have just the bass line doubled, but just with single notes on the 12 string. We're going G, A, B, C, B, A, and then we're going like this. E to D, 2, 3, G, A, B, C, B, A, B, B, A, 2, 3. Back to the beginning. Just like the bass line, just without the thirds. High A to G, all the second and open string. Last time just strum, E minor to G, and then C, and the rest of it takes over from there. Okay, so basically just a double of the bass part. Next up we have the main melody section that happens on top of the bass line. This actually mimics more of the bass line in the fact that it's double stop thirds. So let's check this out. So coming in right there, we have that little, that's the one difference, is a pull off onto the B instead of that staccato rhythm on the bass line. And then we hit it with this. So this actually outlines an E major chord, which is very interesting because so far we haven't hit anything that really relates to that. This then resolves to the F sharp of a D chord, and we come back in. Double stops, pull off, and this. So this actually denotes a B minor 7 to an A major resolution. We come back in, always come back to this. So that almost reminds me of the first one on E, except now we're in the A position. So we're going A, 5th, 3rd, hammer on, pull off, resolving to the B of a G major chord, which is the major 3rd. And then we come back in with this long set of arpeggios that goes like this. E minor 7 to a G major, and then we do this little cadence. Alright, so that little cadence just comes up to a C, play a G, to a B, so now we're on the G chord. So it starts off as a C chord, then we go to a G chord, and then that flat 7 on the G to make it a G7 to a C major chord resolution at the end. Very cool. So this is actually a cadential 6/4. So we have the G on the bottom being the bass note, resolving, and then hitting the flat 7 into the end. It's called a cadential 6/4. Look it up. I'm sure Cliff Burton knew what that was, so you better know what it is. The next portion of the 12-string program outlines the arpeggios of the different chords that occur on those, right after those 2/4 measures. Alright, so this is basically the cadence, or the first part of the resolution. So the first one starts off on a D major chord, just in first inversion on the 4th fret of the D string. Alright, so 4th fret on the D, 2nd fret on the G, 3rd fret on the B string. The other harmony is doing this. So we have two 12 strings going here. And this is, by the way, to simulate the harpsichord sound. If you harmonize 12-string guitars, they sound a lot like a harpsichord and give off that amazing Baroque feeling that we're going for. So here's the high one. Okay, so that's all on a D major triad. This time it's just in root position, harmonizing with the first one. Okay, the next set of arpeggios that occur are on an A major. So the low part is this. Alright, that's all in a root position A major triad. A, C sharp, and E. The high harmony goes like this, just a first inversion. So we're actually inverting the last one that we did. So instead of the first inversion being on the bottom, we have it on the top. So we go like this. And instead of going to the low A, we just let the high A ring out into the introduction again. The next one goes into G, with that slight variation on the bottom there, and the high harmony just goes to a first inversion and hitting an open G to let that ring out. Now this is all to simulate the harpsichord effect. Now the second harmony drops out completely on the last section, but we're gonna continue on. A 4-note G major arpeggio at the 5th fret of the D string, okay, sort of like the top part of a bar chord. Then we immediately hop up to a first inversion G major arpeggio at the 9th fret of the D string, and then we have this cadence here. Beautiful cadence. So now we have this. Got a C major in first inversion, and then a G major chord, but you want to play it with your middle finger, pinky, and your ring, and bring your pointer in to play that 6th fret on the B string. Now that's your flat 7, which is going to resolve to the major 3rd of the C, and beautifully comes back into our key center. Now let's talk about theoretically what's happening. So it starts off like this. It appears as if it's doing a G major, A minor, B minor, C at first glance, okay? 3 of those chords are correct. Upon a second glance, we have G major, A minor, G over B. So it's a first inversion, G major chord going to the C chord, right? Now, we are not in the key of G. I'm going to tell you that right now. This is why we must take multiple glances at what we're looking at here. This is going to be a third glance. So instead of that G chord being a 1 chord, we have the G chord as being the 5 chord. Alright? We start on the 5 chord, 5, 6, 5 in first inversion, to the 1 chord. Beautiful resolution into 1. Where we then go right into this drop down, which is the same deal. That B just acts as the first inversion 5 chord. And then that I would consider the 6th chord, just A minor. Now, when we hop into the first lick, so that's an E chord. Now, the E chord, this could be incredibly tricky for any music theory newbies, but this is what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with the 5 of the 6th chord. Typically when you have a major chord that seems to come out of left field like this, it's a 5 of something. You treat it as a 5 of blah 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 blah, right? So we're treating this as a 5 of 6, alright? Since A minor is the 6th chord of the C major scale, which is the relative minor chord, a very common thing to do is to make the 5 of the minor chord, which would be the 5 of A minor, into a major chord. Okay? Usually the 5 in a minor key is minor, but in this case we're going to utilize that fancy trick of turning the 5 chord into a dominant as it should be, which it should be major. So it's going to be major 5 of 6. But then, what's going on here? We're immediately resolving to a D major. Wow, that's crazy, huh? That actually is crazy. Now this D major, I would say, is the 5 of the G chord, because that's where it resolves to, right? So it goes 5 of 6 to the 5 of the 5 going back to the 1. Alright, so we're using all of these major chords to eventually get back to C. Genius. Let's continue on. The second time around, we have the same thing. Now this time, we're hitting sort of a B minor 7 resolution, right? You're going from a B minor to an A major, a B minor 7 to an A major. Now, a B minor 7 can be seen as like a 6 chord going to a 5. Okay, so the A major is a type of 5 chord. It's actually the 5 of the 5 of the 5. So this is some crazy shit going on here. It's like a tertiary dominant chord, right? 5 of D, of G, of C. So eventually we're just using these major chords to pivot back to our C major chord. That's all that's going on here. Now let's take a look at that B minor 7 now. What if it's not a B minor 7? What if it's an E7 sus4 over B? What if it's that? In that case, we get into some even crazier territory. Now you can say, oh yeah, it's the 5 of the 6, but guess what? The A turns into a major chord. It's no longer A minor, so it's not the relative minor to C. So what are we dealing with here? What is E in relation to A? It's the 5. So we're going the 5 of 5 of 5 of 5 back to 1. Alright, now this is sort of a perfect fifth type of thing. Now that's just a hypothetical. That's if that's an E7 sus4 instead of a B minor 7. Now in the real world, none of this really matters, but it's definitely fun to think about, and it shows just how much of a genius Cliff Burton actually was, from a compositional standpoint. Not just being a monstrous bass player, but he was a composer. He actually understood a lot of this stuff that we're talking about. He probably understood all of this stuff we're talking about, and he would probably agree with me, saying, oh yeah man, that was a 5 of a 5 of a 5 of a 5 going to a 1. Naturally, why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? I'm kind of sad to get out of that intro, but it's time to move on into the actual song. So coming out of the end of that whole sequence, we fade in with this C power chord that just builds in intensity until we reach an apex of this thrash riff. So that first thrash riff is just based on 3 different power chords descending chromatically. Okay, so you have a G, which is the flat third to the E. That E is the pedal tone on the bottom, which you're palm muting. Then we go to an F sharp, which is the 2, the natural 2. And then we have 3, 2, flat 2. Alright, so the F is the flat 2 chord, which pulls nicely back into the E, right? G, F sharp, G, F sharp, F. So, what's going on with the timing there? Okay? It's easy enough to see what's going on with the notes, but the timing is impeccably strange. Alright? I remember listening to this and trying to learn this, and it appears as if the next riff came in at some random moment. But here's the trick. Start the riff on the downbeat. Alright? And have these power chords land on the upbeats. So really what we're doing is right? So everything is landing on the upbeats, which is really interesting, right? And the tempo is moving so quickly that all of those notes land into place. Now, Lars, oddly enough, hits the starts off by almost doing an upbeat gallop, and then it quickly devolves into downbeat territory. So he starts off with like do that, do that, do that, 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 and then before you know it, it goes to the downbeat, downbeat heavy. And that's what I thought all of that was. I thought this was like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, but really it's So once you realize what the timing secret is, this becomes a lot easier to play. Now to get those really fast thrash parts, tighten up on the forearm, get yourself palm muted on the low E string, and just let it rip. Don't do anything too wild. Don't do anything crazy like this. This is too crazy. It's too crazy for you. Just go really narrow and nice. The next riff comes in like this. So basically we have a series of syncopated rhythms that play off of the G and the A note. So the 3rd fret and the 5th fret. And also the 2nd and 3rd fret power chords, which are F sharp and G. So basically we're going like this. So 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 and. So that's the whole measure. 1 and 2 E and 3 and 4 and ba-da boy and a bow bow, with a nice little slide from that G to the F sharp real quick. And it basically just continues to do that, and the last time it just does it once instead of twice. You know, that's really all you got to know about that. Let's move on. Now let's take a look at the chorus section. So the chorus of Fight Fire with Fire has a guitar and a vocal line that kind of complement each other exactly how they go. So we start off with an open E, and then to a G, back to an E, B flat B, B flat. Okay, so we're dealing with opened, which is the 1, the flat 3rd, which is the 3rd fret, the flat 5th, which is the B flat, to the 5th, back to the flat 5th. So we're kind of doing a little bit of a bluesy type of thing, but we're adding a little bit of a demonic element into it. So we're going like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We all shall die. So rhythmically speaking, all we're doing is triplets right out of the gate. Triple it, and then 16th notes. And that's pretty much all you need to know for the chorus. You're going to be repeating it a couple times, and you know. So right before we hit the guitar solo, let's just hit the pre-solo bridge that occurs right beforehand. So we're doing this triplet rhythm on a D, C, B to A. Alright, that's a flat 7, flat 6, 5, 4 progression, just all power chords. So leaving the chord quality ambiguous. And then we go G, A, B, C. So that's almost like the introduction that our lovable bass player wrote. So we have G, A, B, C, which is the 3, 4, 5, flat 6, and then we go B, G, A. So that's just 5, 3, 4. And then we head into the guitar solo, which has some very odd rhythmic elements to it as well. So let's check that out. Before getting into the guitar solo itself, let's take a look at the rhythm. So basically we're dealing with an E power chord going to an A, G, and an F sharp with this timing, right? With this sort of gallopy rhythm. Now every single time you come back to that start of the measure, or the start of the bump-a-dump-a-dump, you want to hit a downstroke. So basically you're going to go down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. And you got to do it super fast too. Just like that. Now, when we're going through the progression, there's 2 measures of 6/4 that intermediate the first half of the second half. So we have the E. That's 3 measures of 4. Now we move on to the final measure of the E, where it's in 6/4, where we go like this. Okay, so it's almost like a you're playing that gallopy rhythm 3 times instead of 2 for that measure. And right after that, you transition into the A chord, which is the 4 chord. So that's another measure of 6. So you have the extra 2 counts at the end of the 4. And then to G, F sharp, where you just do the gallopy rhythm twice. and then it repeats over again. Now after we're done doing that 2 times for the first solo and for the second solo as well, we go like this. And you go right back into the rhythm. Now here's that riff real quick. Before I even get into the solo, we'll just conquer this first. So we're starting on the downbeat. We're hitting a palm muted E chord, power chord. Then we're going F sharp to G. Hitting the G twice again. And then coming back into that part. So a pretty simple riff. Just watch that rhythm, right? You're hitting very upbeat, heavy stuff. That's been the theme of the entire song so far. The first guitar solo of Fight Fire with Fire combines a lot of different elements, some of which are coming back from the Kill 'Em All album. So remember this? Right? That's coming back in here too. So here's the first lick. Simple enough, right? It's just a gradual up bend starting on the 9th fret of the G, which is interesting. You're starting on an E and then bending it up gradually to an F sharp, releasing and pulling off into a D, down to a B. So that would seem like it's coming from a B minor pentatonic or B minor blues, but we're playing it in E minor instead, so kudos. So after that we hit a long string of pentatonic pull-offs. So this traverses that first 6/4 measure that plays over the E chord before it transitions to the A chord. But we're playing in B minor pentatonic. Go figure. So we're starting off on the 9th fret of the D. We're going up, we're going from there, and then we go 3 pull-offs in a row going up the G, B, and E strings. Okay, and then we come down. We stop at the, make a little pit stop at the G string, come back up to the B. Then we do a double on the G to the D. And then a double pull off on the D, where we cap it off with a slide, going into what would be the root in a B minor, but it's actually the 2 of the A chord once we hit that, which is very interesting. But don't worry about that. Theory doesn't really matter here. We're rolling along with a Kill 'Em All throwback, so let's check this out. Massive B minor pentatonic run going all the way up the scale and back to the middle again. Now this is just, a lot of these long pentatonic runs can be solved very easily. They can be resolved very easily by knowing when you go up the stairs and when you come back down the stairs. When you're going all the way up the stairs, then you come back down the stairs a little bit. It's almost like stock trading. The stair-stepping analogy is very helpful when you're getting lost in these long, fast types of patterns. The next section has a series of stop and goes. So we're sliding into the 9th fret of the D like this, which would be the 5th of the E minor chord. Sliding from the 4th to the 5th into the flat 7 of that E minor chord. And then we go all the way up to here as if we're in an F sharp minor pentatonic pattern, but we're not. And then we're going. So let's take a look at the notes here. So we have B and D, which is the 5th of the E minor to the flat 7th of the E minor. So we have a slide from E to F sharp, which is 1 to 2, and then we come up to the A on the G strings, the 14th fret, and that's the 4th. And then we're coming up here. That's the natural 6th of the E minor. So that indicates a Dorian function. The natural 6 is C sharp, whereas the flat 6, which occurs naturally in the key of E minor, is right there. But here we're playing this instead. And that's just to keep the the patterns uniform. It keeps the patterns more consistent. See, we're sliding up a whole step, going up a minor third, sliding up a whole step, going up a minor third, sliding up a whole step, going up a minor third. Like I said, theory doesn't really matter here. It's more about pattern recognition and having it make sense. But yeah, we're going for the Dorian. And then we're picking up into this. So that whole long string is starting on D, going up to F sharp. So we're preparing to hit the A chord out of the E chord. So we're going from flat 7 to 9 to flat 3. Okay? And then we also have the 4th and the 5th scale degree. So that's pretty well in line with E minor here. And it's just a series of fast pull-offs. You can do this with all down picking. Down, 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 down. Right? And those last bends signify the transition into the A chord. Now the hard part about a lot of the solo is that you have that 6/4 measure in between, so you have to keep track of the beats that you're playing on as you're moving through it. So here's that slow. Alright. Now for this last part, I'll attempt to play it slowly, but it's really just meant to play really quickly with a lot of wah-wah on it. A lot of the notes become obscured as you kind of go into the lower strings, but I'll try to play it as accurately as possible slowly. So check it out. So this is going on the drop down from the A to the G to the F sharp. So we're thinking ourselves of being on top of an A chord, and we really are doing this this mix-up of an A mixolydian, because you have A, G, F sharp, and then we have, which is E, D, C sharp. So that's the major third and the 4th and all that good stuff. You have the flat 7 and the major third, so that's mixolydian. And then we had a G sharp here. So that means you're going into A major, okay? Or the G sharp could be the major third of the original key of the E minor. So this could be a little bit of mode mixture in a lot of different ways. We can be either the major 7th of A major or the major third of E major, which is actually supposed to be E minor. So this is all speculation. So we keep on going. And we have this, C sharp again, nothing crazy. G sharp again, nothing crazy. You know, he's starting to get boring. Kind of sounds like Vanilla Fudge. Now solo 2 is probably my favorite part of the song. It might be even one of my favorite parts of any Metallica song that exists. It's a 2-part guitar harmony played by Kirk Hammett, and it follows that 4/4 to 6/4 time change absolutely perfectly. It almost reminds me of some kind of Italian folk music on steroids, mixed in with a polka beat behind it. So, very European of them. The first part starts over at the 19th fret of the high E string, and you're going down in thirds. So you're starting with the major third, major third, major third, and then coming up to the next note here, 15th fret. Alright, so we're starting this off not totally in the key of E minor. We're hitting the C sharp in there, so that's the natural 6 again. The natural 6 is the Dorian mode. I will say that this is not completely known by the members of the band, but it's heard by the members of the band. Very creative boys. Come up to the 15th fret, and then immediately we change to the flat 6. Resolving. You know, very gypsy-like, you know what I'm saying? Right? And then we have that resolution, which is over the A. So the A becomes an A minor. It's clearly an A minor here, because we got rid of the C sharp long ago. On the A, it's the first 5 scale degrees, and on the E, you're kind of messing around with the last 4 scale degrees before you get there. You're starting on B, C, C sharp, D, E, which is 5, flat 6, natural 6, flat 7 to the 1. Now you got to be careful on this last part, because there are some hammer-ons that are hidden in there. They're kind of hard to hear, but you're doing a quick 12 to 13, resolving back down to that A, and then we do this, coming up back to the B, and then we do this. Very odd way to end it, but it works very well in the song. It's not singable at all, but it's very reminiscent of the vibe we're going for. So we're coming up with a hammer-on to a pick, then we go, which is actually kind of perfect for being on top of that F sharp chord, because F sharp is sort of no man's land in this case. So we're allowed to feel a little bit more of a diminished, unresolute type of vibe in order to get through here. That doesn't really sound like anything to me, but it's perfect for the ending of the part. Shouldn't sound like anything, because it's got to get into a very definitive riff coming in afterwards, right? So the harmony guitar is just played a third down. You're starting on the flat 3. And you're hitting that C sharp. Now here you're just resolving. You're actually going, 4 to flat 3. And all the same motions, just down a third, okay? Now actually the harmony sounds more melodic at the ending there, so maybe maybe that's how it works out, that the harmony guitar fills out what the lead can't fill out, and it comes together in a perfect, I don't want to use the word harmony, but I'm going to use the word harmony. Perfect harmony. So the only thing left to do now is to do the outro. Basically it's the last chorus of an elongated chorus that starts with a slower drum beat, goes to a faster drum beat, and then hits just an outro section. So we go like this. We do the fight fire with fire part a million times. You can look at the tab to see how many times it is. And then on that last stop, James hits the B flat chord, which is the flat 5. And then there's two guitars on this, where you have a 3rd fret natural harmonic that dives all the way down into an E5 power chord to this triplet riff up the octave to end the whole song. Thanks everybody for coming on this journey with me through Fight Fire with Fire. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm also on a couple other video hosting sites as well. Go to my website, www.romanovamusic.com. You can buy my music there. You can sign up for guitar lessons. I do that. And if you want to further support the channel, go to my Subscribestar page. It's like Patreon, but cooler. www.subscribestar.com/RomanOvaMusic. And you could pledge as little as $1 a month. You can pledge as little as $5 a month. You can pledge as little as $1,000 a month. To me, it doesn't matter. If you go for the 1,000, that's probably better. So it does kind of matter to me. Go for the 1,000. Try that out. Even though there's not even a tier option, you gotta do that on your own. But it's all good. It's all good. Just support the channel, right? All right, everybody. I'll see you guys later, and get ready for the title track coming up next time.